Very good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Live at the Waterhole and welcome to Old Donyo Lodge in Kenya. Thanks to Afrikaan's camera up here, we've started out with a couple of elephant bulls, having a drink and a few more loitering in the background as well. But thank you so much for joining us. My name is Ben Coley. I will be with you for the next couple of hours. As always, it's live, it's interactive. You can send me your questions, your comments. I will answer everything that I can do so. And please feel free to ask me some weird and wonderful things because it makes me go and research them and further my knowledge base, which is what it's all about. Knowledge is power, a wise person once said. Lovely to see some Iland in the background as well. Not something we see too much of, but always interesting to watch these interactions. Saw some interesting things happening yesterday. If you didn't catch yesterday's show, then that was unfortunate because we had a beautiful elephant sighting at Safari Hook. We had a leopard come down to drink at Rosie's Pan and had various bulls around Old Donyo like this. Like, as always, we're having a little bit of a power struggle as to who has access to the inflow pipe. You can see that one's reaching across with his trunk. We'll have to see how the others feel about that. Always entertaining to watch. You can see the bigger one just gave him a little shove and said, not today, my friend. Yeah, he's going to have another go. Yeah, looks like the other one has relented. Shows what a little bit of perseverance and a bit of confidence can do under the right circumstances. Greetings, Penelope Kenyon. Glad you could join us again. Yeah, let's hope for some great sightings. I'm not sure if we'll top yesterday. Always a treat when a cat shows up. It often is difficult to find cats this time of day, of course. But you never know. We are in winter here in southern Africa, at least, where it is a little bit cooler. It's a lovely clear day here in Hoedspruit, but it is by no means hot by our standards. Boiling compared to England standards, of course, which is home country for me, or it was many years ago. But how lovely is this? Iland, 4 elephant bulls, and a very plucky giraffe who apparently has no fear of these elephants, which is nice to see because I often feel they get a little bit bullied by the elephants here at Old Donyo. They do seem to monopolize this water point. But evidently content enough to assume the position for drinking, which is never an easy position to get out of quickly if one needs to. Joanne Mello wishing us a happy Wednesday as well. Thank you, Joanne. Marco Casas, glad you're also with us. And David saying hi to myself. Mika, who is in my ear helping me with all of the cameras. Shame that one in the middle just got sandwiched. They're saying it's a lovely day in northwest England. Get ready for your lunchtime waterhole fix. I believe the weather is beautiful in England today. I've got friends on the south coast who tell me it's going to be a ridiculously balmy 27 degrees, I think they've been forecast today, which is almost heatwave territory for the UK. We're probably mid-20s here in Hoedspruit, so it may even be warmer than South Africa today. So enjoy it while you can, David. It probably won't last for very long. A beautiful little bit of camaraderie there with the other one's trunk resting over the other one's tusk. I love these little intimate moments that you can so easily miss, but being able to watch them unfold like this live without the pressure of thinking you've got to go and find something else, or guests that have now got their photograph of an elephant and they want to find what else there is. It is wonderful sometimes to just sit and watch everything unfold and try and unpick all of these little relationships that go on between these creatures. Of course, these elephant bulls probably know each other well, probably hang out together, and even if they do go off on a bit of a wander, they will meet up and discuss what adventures they've been on. But these two, I think, obviously quite close. See the way the trunk touching the other one's mouth, just getting sensory input. And I'm sure resting trunks on other elephants' tusks is only reserved for certain occasions. It's like a beautiful big tusker coming in at the back. See how everybody's politely moved out of his way. And Anton Pride, you're saying the big elephant boys are back in town. They are, but they're obviously giving off an air of relaxation today. Even the Iland are trying their hand at having a drink without being too intimidated. Lovely shape of this right-hand tusk as we're looking at it. This elephant's left-hand tusk. Beautiful curve, like a scimitar. Haley in the UK, you're loving watching the elephants. They are indeed majestic. Oh, careful giraffe. And Lorraine hoping to see some insects and some birds. Well, there's plenty of butterflies flitting around, as there always is at Aldonia, taking advantage of the water source and all the minerals in the soil that have been brought to the surface. But unfortunately, I wouldn't be willing to offer you specific IDs on butterflies. They're hard enough as is, and they also have often very, very specific habitat regions where they occur. There are many, many butterfly species that only occur in one specific location in the world. They're very vulnerable to environmental changes. So, good indication of your ecosystem if you've got a nice diverse amount of butterflies there. But we'll see what else we can find in terms of birds and bugs for you.
My name is Amy, and today we're going to be doing things a little bit differently.
The Wild Earth Impact Foundation is a non-profit that uses the power of wildlife storytelling as a force for good. We create sustainable development projects that showcase conservation stories, empower people, and inspire environmental action. As a registered South African PBO, you can make a tax-deductible donation to the Wild Earth Impact Foundation. To find out more, visit our website.
My full name is Cedric Leslie Dold. I grew up mostly in the Lowveld. I grew up here pretty much on the southern side of Kruger National Park, a place called Marloth Park, for most of my years. Something surprising about myself, I did play drums in a band for many years. Best sighting I presented, we found Palumba and the two cubs, and the cubs are just way big.
Few Ellies dotted around today. So, David, you're saying he's a spine. He's a fine specimen. I assume you're referring to the one on the far side with the beautiful tusks that we were looking at, and indeed he is a fine specimen. And I see Anton Lion Pride, you're asking me if I know much about Neisner elephants. Honestly, Anton, I don't know much about the Neisner elephants. From what I know, there is only one individual officially left. There's talk of introducing a few. I believe it's a female. Obviously, I've never seen them or any Neisner elephants, but it's not something that I'm particularly knowledgeable on. So I'll see what I can find out and report back. Not something that I've thought about for a while. Lovely to see these Iland. I think we saw a little bit of hormonal analysis going on the right, with one of the males uh, checking the reproductive status of that female. There you go, he's having a good whiff there, trying to pick up that information. And there's that classic Flemen grimace, where he's pulling those lips back, opening the organ of Jacobson or organ of Jacobson, and analysing those pheromones to get the latest. See, this bull is also going to have an investigative moment as well, by the look of it. Amazing how elands are big creatures, but they're still dwarfed by these elephants. Buzz, I'm glad that you are happy to begin with elephants. It is pretty much a staple diet for live at the waterhole this time of day. Great time for elephants to come down and quench their almost insatiable thirst. It's lovely to see some of these magnificent specimens, David, as you were saying, and it's nice to see the backside of them as well. Always look like they've got some really baggy pants on when you look at the backside of an elephant. I don't know if it's just me, but this one looks particularly wrinkled today. Maybe spent too long in the water. Lenny, we'll see if today is the day that I get to see 1 ton. Okay, but a lovely way to start this afternoon. Let's head over to the hide. I think we've got some hippopotami. Lovely to see a hippopotamus out of the water. We saw quite a few out of the water at Camelthorne yesterday, but a bit further away. But this gives you a beautiful view of a hippo under the watchful eye of an elephant. Some lovely light on the back of the hippo as well, to see the way it's shining off that skin. They are rather funny, sort of chunky looking things. Always makes me think of Moto Moto in Madagascar. So chunky. I'd love to see them out and about. Not uncommon, of course, in winter. Sun not quite so oppressive this time of year, and the skin can handle the heat a little bit better. Often get that pink hue of the hippocerodic acid that the body produces to act as a natural sunblock. Also as a very effective disinfectant for the skin. Lots of cuts and scrapes on hippos from interactions with other individuals. See, Lorraine, you're also agreeing that there is only one Neisner elephant left. It's shocking, really. But yeah, I don't know too much of the history of those Neisner elephants, unfortunately, but terrible to think that there is only one left, but perhaps some relocating to the area will help. We will have to see. Of course, elephant management is a a very difficult road. There's a lot of things to consider with their requirements. Julia's happy. You're saying you didn't know that it was World Crocodile Day. I believe World Crocodile Day was yesterday. We discussed them. I don't know if today is World Something Day. Most days seem to be World Something Day. World Knitting Day, perhaps. Who knows? But it was nice to see some crocs yesterday, certainly. Marco Casas, you're saying your new goal is to get 250 birds by the 16th. So you want 1.5 new birds per show. Um, right, well, we'll see what we can do. I will start pointing out birds as and when we see them. Look at that great big mouth of a hippo. It is almost ridiculous that they've evolved such massive mouths and those enormous canine teeth when all they do is crop grass with those lips. Suppose how common is it to see hippo on land? Well, less common than seeing them in the water, but of course, as many of you will know, they come out in the evenings and roam around looking for a sufficient amount of food, maybe 50 to 75 kilograms of grass required per evening. Um, Perhaps not as much as something like a white rhino. They've got a slightly more efficient digestive system. They have what's called a four, well, they are four-gut fermenters. So they're not true ruminants. They don't have four-chambered stomachs. They've got three-chambered stomachs, but they still do a lot of that bacterial fermentation before the main part of the stomach, whereas things like elephants, zebras, warthogs, horses, rhinos, that's the bacterial fermentation of the food that they've eaten happens after the stomach in an organ known as the cecum, which is just a less efficient way of doing it. So hippos are sort of something in between. We call them pseudo-ruminants hippos, but they still need a decent amount of food, but can survive on some fairly fibrous material, as you can see eating there. And of course, what makes hippos so important as part of the ecosystem is when they return to water before sunrise, they will then often defecate in the water, and that is a great way of completing the nutrient cycle from land into the water. It helps to feed the fish in there or the little organisms that are passing through the hippo. Um, all the undigested food can be utilized by aquatic animals as well. So hippos really are more important than they're often given credit for. Say that missing link to complete the chain, very important. The Lawman 999, also known as David by the sound of it, also from northwest England, Rossendale in Lancashire. Can't say I know Rossendale, but I'm a southern boy. Anything north of London is north, as far as I'm concerned. And you've only discovered this channel this weekend. Well, I hope you will continue visiting us, David. We are doing this every day, 365 days a year, 12:30 until 2:30 South African local time, an hour earlier for you, but I guess you figured that out already if you've joined us. But yeah, it's a great way to while away a couple of hours, that's for sure. Marco Casassi saying we've got you 213 birds in 2 months. Well, that's a pretty good go, I have to say. Oh, photobomb elephant. Obviously, it's difficult to know which ones you've seen and which ones you have not seen, but we'll point them out as we go. But birds are notoriously difficult to keep on camera for an extended period of time.
katika mwanga wa mwezi, kivuli hutembea, mrembo mweusi anayepotea, macho yake ni taa, gizani huwaka, fuvu la msitu, malkia anayejificha.
My full name is Cedric Leslie Dold. The best driver at Wild Earth, it is me. I believe I'm the best driver. I think so because I've. Best part of my job, I say, is just to try and look out for these animals, track them down. I love tracking animals. I love looking for, fresh tracks, and if you can find them, it's just at the moment of accomplishment. If I wasn't a presenter for Wild Earth, I would be the drummer for AC/DC.
Welcome to Safari Spotlight. We'll be
And you pretend like you're a salesman, eh?
Got no idea what's going on in this reserve.
Expecting the unexpected.
Are we stuck down there?
What am I trying to do?
Because we have another giant of Mabula.
That was incredible.
This is unbelievable.
It's going to be a spectacular afternoon.
Ollie the Oxpecker, you've been doing some little investigative work there on the Neisner elephant, and yes, the last one is known as Strangefoot, and very sad that she is the only one, so she is the last and only Neisner elephant remaining, but there are certainly no shortages of elephants here at Hwangi today at the Hive. Massive herds coming in. Very, very cool to see. I suspect you were also asking about the hippo's gut again, so you're asking if they have gut bacteria. Absolutely they do, because as do all things that pretty much eat grass, because it's a lot more difficult to break down grass cellulose than it is to break down meat. It's rich in protein, there's lots of energy to be had there, and it requires a much simpler stomach. If we've got to eat grass, then you've got to find a way to extract a sufficient amount of nutrients from it. So there are many, and we are talking, believe it or not, in the trillions of little microscopic organisms growing in the gut of all of these animals. So a whole variety of things in there: bacteria, protozoa, fungi. They reckon just in a teaspoon of rumen material there could be billions. So in the entire gut, we're talking probably trillions. That's in a sort of a standard ruminant. So I have no doubt that a hippo is somewhere in the same area, as it does have that fermentation pre-stomach. For something like an elephant with its enlarged cecum, I should say hippos also do have a cecum as well. It's just not as efficient. It's not where the majority of the breakdown of food takes place. That happens before the stomach, whereas it exclusively happens after the stomach in elephants. But that whole breakdown process is very, very important. Releases fatty acids, which the elephant or the hippo, whichever animal we are discussing, can absorb and get extra energy. And even when those little microbes die, they themselves contain a little bit of energy. so they will also be absorbed into the bloodstream. A lot of them will also be passed out after they have died as well, which is potentially good for the nutrient cycle. So lots and lots of things going on inside the stomachs of these animals. But yeah, elephants are pretty amazing. If you want to see a good explanation of the elephant digestive system, there was an amazing show on Channel 4 in England many years ago now. I think they did about 5 series called Inside Nature's Giants, where they did live autopsies in front of an audience of veterinary students, and they autopsy a variety of animals in a sort of a CSI type way to try and find out why this captive animal had passed away. And they did probably 20 or 30 of these over the course of those series. They did an Indian elephant at one point, but also some weird and wonderful stuff. A couple of whales that had washed up onto beaches. Remember a kangaroo, a python. They did a hippo as well. A great white shark, a giant squid. Really interesting if you don't mind a little bit of squeamishness. Well worth a watch if you can still find those. Right, it sounds like it's almost time for the vultures to get fed up at Victoria Falls, so let's go and enjoy the chaos. Obviously not happened yet, but I'm sure they will soon be gathering. See one rather imposing marabou stork standing in the middle there. Cool. And another one in the background. So it's amazing to see when the food, if and when the food does come out, how quickly these vultures make work of it. It's incredible how efficient they are with those extendable crops. They just grab their food and store it in the crop for digestion at a later stage. It's a brilliant way of dealing with the chaos there. Just eat as much as you can, store it, go and find a nice relaxing spot, and then digest at your own leisure. I think interesting question from Jane Ludlow, wanting to know about penal bones in male animals, and asking about wild dogs, just while we wait for the vultures to be fed. As far as I know, Jane Ludlow, all dogs do have that specific bone. It's known as the baculum. And you find it in a variety of animals, most predators, and it's generally found in those animals that where mating is a little bit more complicated or needs to be done very regularly or over a long period of time. As one would imagine, it gives a little bit of resilience, strength, and rigidity to the proceedings. Um, yeah, I'm not really sure what else to say. You're saying you're not sure that wild dogs have them. As far as I know, they do, and they can be a very good way of actually identifying different species, because the sexual organs are one of the ways that things are categorized. Typically in taxonomy, three of the main things you look at are foot structure, tooth structure, and reproductive organs. So if you were to find a fossil of something, and if you were to find that baculum, it might help you actually with your identification of what species you've got. So, as always, I stand to be very much corrected on the wild dog situation, but I thought all dogs had them. But I'll see what I can find out, Jay. See a few more vultures beginning to gather. Maybe the word is getting around, standing around waiting patiently. Jive Bunny, you're saying the southern bearded vultures in the Drakensberg nest have produced their first egg of the season last night. That's excellent news. It's the only vulture that I've never seen, a bearded vulture, a lammergeier. Would love to see one of those, but I don't get to the Drakensberg very often. But to see one dropping the bones, cracking them open on the rocks and feeding on that marrow must be very, very cool. I think it's the only vulture in southern Africa that I'm yet to tick off my list. I've had one sighting of an Egyptian vulture, which was very much unexpected, up in the Makaleki region of Kruger, right up in the north, Pafuri area. One flew overhead, and I know a lot of people dispute the fact that I saw it, but I got a good look at it, and it had a yellow beak, and I'm convinced it was an Egyptian vulture. As far as I know, that's the only one of those I've seen, but yet to tick off the bearded vulture. But very cool looking things, and hopefully one day I keep threatening a trip to the Drakensberg to go and take advantage of some of that beautiful scenery and photographic opportunities. So if I do finally get down there and I find one, I will let you know. Those of you looking for birds, well, there's plenty there. Marabou storks, whiteback vultures. I see hooded vultures there. Not sure if we've got any capes in here, and haven't seen lappet or white-headed yet, but we'll keep an eye out.
Now, this leopard that we're looking at is known by the name of Hlalamba.
chidzana na dzima
How cool is this?
I always find this part mesmeric, the way they all move together as one. It's like a ripple. It sort of reminds me of a seething pile of ants, or when the alates, the reproductive offspring, come out and they hang around by the hole there. But yeah, it's just utter chaos. Sparks, you're asking if they get Egyptian vultures here in Zimbabwe. I've just checked the distribution, and they occur all over southern Africa, including the northern parts of South Africa, but they're just not often seen by the looks of it. I'm just trying to see if there's anything specific that I can find on Zimbabwe. Now, nothing specific about Zimbabwe, but according to my app, which I agree is a little outdated these days, it's the whole area sort of spanning Namibia, Botswana, Zimbabwe, Mozambique, northern parts of South Africa is contained within their range in southern Africa. I believe they occur much further north as well. But it seems to be characterized on my app with lots of red dots scattered around the place, which leads me to assume it's sort of rather sporadic sightings of them as opposed to them being particularly common. I'm not sure of their exact numbers at the moment. According to what it says on my app, it says formerly uncommon, rare by the 1940s, status difficult to assess accurately due to frequent misidentifications, 15 acceptable records from 1945 to 1978, probably fewer than 40 records post 1978. So definitely not common. But I'm still slightly vindicated, and according to this, they could occur in the northern parts of Kruger, so I'm sticking to my guns because I know what I saw and I'm convinced it was an Egyptian vulture. But if you do see any vultures in and amongst this melee that have that sort of yellow facial skin, I think I said yellow beak, but particularly the skin around the face, then as far as I know, that's going to be an Egyptian vulture. They look quite similar in build to the hooded vultures, quite slimline beaks, but that yellow skin is a bit of a giveaway. Amazing, already within a few minutes you wouldn't really know anything had happened there. A few of them having a quick drink to wash down their breakfast. Hayley Macbeth, you're saying a good lunch. Joanna, oh wow. And they are super hungry. Martina Schmidt. Alicia Demery saying magnificent. It's always fun to see nature doing what nature's supposed to do. And it looks like chaos, but it's, well, it is chaos, but it's efficient chaos, let's put it that way. Marco Cassis is saying those marabou storks have length advantage, beak and stature. That may be the case, but they usually have to wait to the end. They are not really designed to get in there. Their beak is not really well adapted for destroying carcasses like that. They tend to sort of hoover up what's left It's not often you see one actually just sort of picking directly at the carcass. They normally wait till the vultures have had their fill, and they maybe steal some food from the vultures. But you can see that massive beak not really designed to tear chunks of flesh off bone. Julian Thomas, you're saying that there are very few eBird records in SA or Zim for the Egyptian vulture. So yeah, very, very rarely spotted. So I consider myself very fortunate to have, I think, at least seen one. But if you do like your birds, Northern Kruger is definitely the place to go in South Africa, at least up in that Pafuri region. A lot of birds that occur up there that you don't really find anywhere else in the country. The Meaves starlings, grey-backed cameropteras, the racket-tailed roller, black-throated wattle-eye. These are some that spring to mind that may indeed occur elsewhere, but you see them more commonly up there. And what I believe to be a variable sunbird that I also saw up there. Again, despite a few people's, I say disbelief, but questioning. But again, pretty confident that I know what I saw. It looked like a collared sunbird, but it had a very long, decurved beak. And a collared sunbird has a short beak for a sunbird, so it should be fairly readily distinguishable. The way they waddle around on the floor. All right, well, that was some, say, good, fun, organised chaos. We are going to zoom southwest to Tau and see what's happening at Tau's waterhole. Some zibbies and some wildebeest, enjoying the fruits of Madikwe. Interesting to see how that area behind the zebras is beginning to die off now. I remember it's a few months ago, before the summer rains at least. That area was just a great big dust bowl, and I'm sure it will be again in a month or two's time. But it was lovely to see so much greenery there, and those yellow flowers, lots of them. I know they were successfully identified at some point. I think Kelly was able to get an ID from speaking to the guides there, but I can't remember what they were now. But a nice big group of zebras. A very big group, in fact. So we'll have multiple harems within this group. On average, a stallion will normally have sort of 4 to 6, maybe 4 to 7 mares in tow, depending on his dominance and his ability to keep his mares safe from other stallions that are trying to abduct them. So when you see a bit of an aggregation of animals like this, usually in response to a good source of a resource, be it water or food. A lone, rather pale elephant. You can see the colour of the soil. He's obviously had a little bit of a dust bath there, which has given him that rather ghostly appearance almost. See a little red-knobbed coot as well. And who have we got there? A teal by the look of it. Yeah, red-billed teal. Some Egyptian geese. Or I should call them Egyptian shell ducks, rather, I suppose. Okay, I think we're going to head back up to Botswana now, and let's go check in at Camelthorne. There seems to be a common theme at Camelthorne during the daytime. I wonder if it's because it's very cold down there in that bowl, the cold air sinking. But all these hippos enjoying a little bit of sunbathing. It looks like an English beach on a nice hot sunny day. Everybody crammed in. It's lovely to see some little ones out of the water as well. With a very, very prominent hippo population here at Camelthorne. And this does seem to be their preferred spot. They love lying on this nice sandy patch. It's a good idea of the bolt, which is often hidden underneath the water. A good 2.5, maybe 3 tons for a big adult hippo bull. So they're short little stumpy legs, but can still carry them at close to 40 kilometers an hour, so don't be fooled by its appearance. It still runs faster than the majority of us. But you can see those short, stocky legs. That's why we end up with those easy to see a hippo path, because they always sort of have 2 tram lines with a little bit of grass in between. Mika saying she's never seen so many hippos out of the water at the same time. With that little youngster there relocating himself. I'm hoping we'll see some interaction, because hippos are strange things. They're social animals, but they don't generally like each other, and they're constantly squabbling. Particularly in the dry season when water is at a premium, but I think there's probably enough to go around that everybody's pretty chilled. But it is unusual to see so many out of the water at the same time. So I worked in Katavi National Park in Tanzania for a while, which has an enormous population of hippos and crocs, and I don't remember seeing massive groups of hippos like this out on the shoreline during the middle of the day. You might see small groups of sort of 10 or 15 lying next to the water, but there must be 30 or 40 of them here. You can see how they're all covered in those scars from those squabbles that they have with each other. And yet you won't see one with any festering infections. That hyposporidic acid, the stuff that's turning pink on their bodies, as I said earlier, excellent at dealing with sunburn, but also equally good at keeping wounds disinfected and clean and reducing bacterial buildup and infection. Very important when you're constantly scrapping with one another.
Join me, Danielle Carstens, in Mashatu, Botswana's land of giants. With over 1,000 elephants, leopards in nyala berry trees, and exclusive access to photographic hides, this is a wildlife photographer's paradise. I'll be there photo guiding you throughout, providing hands-on training and tips. Let's capture striking images together in one of Africa's most rewarding reserves. I would love for you to join me.
At Wild Earth, we believe every story has the power to create change. That's why we've launched the Wild Earth Impact Foundation, a non-profit dedicated to conservation and social impact. By showcasing conservation stories, we can change lives, protect nature, and empower communities. We have partnered with Empowers Africa to accept tax-deductible donations from US donors. Your donation will help fund critical programs that support our mission. Join us and be part of the change.
I get to wake up every morning and go out there and look for cats. I get to create my everyday safari for myself. I grew up in the sort of central eastern suburbs of Johannesburg, fully qualified trails guide and a fully qualified nature conservationist. I love the wild places. I love being in the wilderness. It's probably one of the best jobs I've ever had and probably ever could have.
Are you ready for the adventure of a lifetime? Wild Earth Travel's newsletter is your passport to a magical journey. Explore exclusive travel options featuring special offers at stunning Wild Earth locations and all hosted by your favorite presenters. Don't miss out. Head over to our website and subscribe to the Wild Earth Travel newsletter today and stay in the know on all our unforgettable adventures. Wild Earth Travel, where Africa comes alive.
Well, to avoid that, but slightly pink, absolutely. And I am one of those people. I have a distinct lack of melanin in my body. And I go pinker than the pinkest hippo you've ever seen. That's why I generally shelter from direct sunlight where I can, slightly vampiric these days. Maybe that's why I enjoy the evenings of the stars so much, because there is no sun. And David, you're saying it looks like Blackpool Beach in the 50s. Shoulder to shoulder, only knotted handkerchiefs and deck chairs are missing. Precisely, David, that's what I was going for. I missed a few messages that came through. Leopard Lover, you're saying you'd love to see an elephant charge in. Yes, imagine the chaos. A stampede of hippos would be fun. Ronnie Sue 313, you're saying this is your happy place. David, you reckon there's over 60 of them there? I think that's probably a fair assumption, yeah. And a Hippo Beach, says Marco Casas. And Leopard Lover, you're enjoying the little babies. Penelope Kenyon saying there's a food drive last year to help feed the starving hippos here, and they were eating elephant dung to survive. And Sanjeev Roy saying that, yeah, plenty of vegetation donated by individuals were given to these hippos during last year's drought. So it's great to know that people are rallying together for these hippos. What's going on here? A little bit of a dominance play going on. A little bit of aggression. That would be pretty cool if we did see a bit of a bundle go on here. Two hippos fighting. Not something I've seen very often, but it's very impressive when they do it. Teeth thrashing everywhere, massive mouths. very intimidating. Yeah, but it looks like whatever this disagreement was has been settled with a little bit of intimidation and some body language. Everybody seems to have settled for now. You can just see every single hippo in this pod has got scarring on the body. It's amazing we don't see more fights. Obviously, there's a difference between just little fisticuffs and full-blooded territorial dominance fights. But look, even those youngsters are covered in scratches and scars already. You get the sense that might be Mum glaring at people looking at her youngster. Of course, a tiny, tiny baby hippo, of which I haven't seen any here. They are so cute. They are really, really small when they come out. They weigh about 30 or 40 kilograms, which is less than half the weight of a baby elephant or a baby rhino. With a much shorter gestation period, only about 7 or 8 months for a hippo, because they don't have to have the same amount of development going on inside the womb. They've got the buoyancy of the water, where they're going to spend a lot of their younger months. So they don't quite need the musculature and the skeletal structure to have grown sufficiently, or developed sufficiently, I should say. And they don't have to instantly run away from predators. Oh, is that a really small one on the far left, lying next to one? That would make sense, because they have to pull those two on the right to having a scrap. The size of that mouth. Mika, you're strangely excited by the fight. I've got visions of you just going, fight, 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 in Johannesburg there. Trying to work out what's going on. I can't quite. My gut is the way that the one in the middle is positioned. I'm going to say herself in between the one at the back and the one on the right. I wonder if this is a young female with a youngster, and this is a bull on the right. Perhaps had some slightly indecent intentions, and the other one was defending the youngster's honor. The intimidation display. A little bit of a yawn. But quite difficult to sex a hippo, even when they're out of the water. It's a lot of skin in the way. Well, there's a little bit of excitement, but it seems to have died down. But I was wondering if on the far left there was a very small hippo lying next to a female. The one's just separated. There's often the way when a female does have a calf, she doesn't let any others come too close to it for the first few months. Yeah, I think that is a little tiny one lying there. Interesting to see the separation between the group and her, but that is to be expected. So very protective of their youngsters during the early years. Looks like a little rock. Or I should say their early months. And they're more protective. I'm trying to remember if it's baby boys or baby girls, but they introduce one a lot earlier than the other sex, as they are growing a little bit older. Let me see if I can find out exactly which way round it is. I can never remember. But yeah, interesting that some take a little bit longer, or the one sex is introduced before the other sex in babies. Check my Bible here of mammal information. too many pages to scroll through. I may have to use the index. It's still not a tiny one. Very difficult for me to actually give you an actual age, but just based on what I believe a newborn hippo size would be, I think that's probably a month or two old, perhaps. Okay. So the pseudo memory was half right. So they're normally kept apart for about 2 weeks, but I think my gut says that's a bit older than 2 weeks. Then we'll generally be introduced to the territorial bull. Will be the first one who gets to meet the new arrival, whereas other ones are generally chased away. Um, The bull was always introduced first, and then the younger members of the family. Other cows are allowed to make physical contact with a female calf after about 2 months, and with a male calf after 6 months. So that's what I was thinking of. So yeah, they're a lot more protective of the males than they are of the females, which I can only assume has something to do with allowing them to develop and not be bullied as young males. Oop, another little minor disagreement in the middle there. Big thanks to Mika, who has moved on and been replaced by Chulu in my ear. Everybody was surprisingly excited by that little hippo spat in the office, it seems. But yeah, not something we get to see very often. But go and hang out with a big group of hippos for long enough and you will see many an altercation. Definitely some hippo R&R. That one halfway up the bank, he's gone walkabout. And that one's found himself a nice isolated patch of soft sand and is proper stretching out. Billy, you're also saying it's the most hippos you've ever seen in one place. Oh, hello, little one. I'd say, but if you do like hippos, Katavi National Park is a really amazing place to go. So there are plenty of hippos there. Every little piece of water has got some groups of hippos. There's an area quite close to the lodge where I was working at the time called Palahala Tented Camp, part of Firelight Safaris. We had a place called Paradise Plains close by, where we often used to just take a trip down there late afternoon, have sundowners and watch all the ensuing chaos of the hippopods there, but there were probably many tens of them in a small piece of water, and particularly when the dry season started to set in and that water just became sort of sludgy mud more than anything else, There we did see quite a few slashes and grumbles between them as they were fighting over what little moisture was there. Certainly makes a lot more sense. It's the underside of the hippo that goes more pink due to those dermal secretions. Those are the bits that don't see the sun very often. Much darker on their backs, more melanin, just offering better sun protection. Menti Tilapau, you're saying that baby hippos look like little Tootsie Rolls. Indeed, they do. Mercedes Bean, you say you saw a show where there were two bulls fighting at Shalati, that it was very intense. Yeah, it can be, and they can last for hours sometimes, these hippo battles between two equally matched individuals. They don't like to back down. Hannah, their skin will be okay because of that secretion. So they've got those special glands under the skin. I don't know if the glands themselves have a particular name, but they produce these two specialized secretions, the sort of fluid that coats the body in what is known as hippocyridic acid and norhippocyridic acid. That's the stuff that goes pink, and that is protecting them from the sun. If they really feel that they're suffering and the skin is beginning to crack, then they have water available. They will just get back into the water. But I think they're all just enjoying some sunlight today. I can only assume that, say, in a deep bowl like this, it probably does get very cold in the winter, cold air sinking. So take advantage of that nice soft sand and a bit of baking sunshine. Natural spirits, you said you've also tried to count them and you've got up to about 75. There is indeed a lot of hippos. A pod of hippos, a raft of hippos. Those are the generally accepted collective nouns, whoever it is that officially, if there isn't a word, officially come up with these collective nouns. Wakes of vultures and murders of crows and implausibility of wildebeest and dazzles of zebras. And the one that I always feel a bit bad for, the poor old walrus, who apparently is an ugly of walrus, which I've always thought is a little bit harsh. If anybody knows of any other commonplace collective nouns, do let us know. They're always fun to hear. So I don't know whether we could call any of them official, but there are certainly some that are very well known and more mainstream, at least.
This is an unbelievable afternoon.
South Africa's wild places are closer than you think because Federal Airlines brings them to you. From the calm of our FedAir lounge to the smooth boarding of our trusted fleet, we take care of the journey so you can enjoy the adventure. Our flights go beyond the ordinary, connecting you to South Africa's most remote and extraordinary locations. Federal Airlines, your gateway to the South African wild.
Best sighting I've presented, I found myself with wild dogs. We chased the dogs around, chased them around. They ate an impala. We got the end of that. Then another impala went into Gowrie Dam down the road there, and the wild dogs went around. Eventually, the impala came close to the bank. One wild dog went and grabbed it and then just pulled it out and just did what wild dogs do. It was an emotional experience, but it was very, very special.
Step into the heart of Africa from the comfort of your home.
Female leopard tracks over here.
Join our expert guides for a live 3-hour safari where every moment is real, unscripted, and unforgettable. Ask questions.
Animals rely on their senses.
Share your thoughts and be part of the experience as we explore together. Safari Live.
Wild at heart, you were saying hippo fights are awful to witness. Vicious blood bites, all sorts and sounds. You saw this in Kafui in Zambia where you worked. That's interesting. Yeah, I'm sure you saw plenty up there. Plenty of hippos in Zambia, certainly. I'd say I see a few skirmishes along the Sand River in my time in the western sector of the Sabi Sands. But I don't think I've ever seen what I would consider to be a full-blown hippo fight based on some of the videos that I've seen online. So they can go on for a long period of time. I know a lot of people who've been camping close to rivers have had to evade hippos chasing each other around. But yeah, not something you want to get in the middle of that scrap. About 5 or 6 tons of angry hippo. Rather be somewhere else. Yeah, well, that was some very cool time spent with a big mass of hippos. Let's head back up to Old Donyo. We've got some baby hippos, otherwise known as warthogs. Although I think they look more like little baby rhinos, or baby rhinos look like adult warthogs. Enjoying a bit of a scratch in the mud. Oh, yeah. I think over the years I've grown more and more partial to the warthog. I think they've always had a bit of a rough deal, but they're very cute things, and I have a huge amount of respect for them. They can reach incredible speeds. They're super, super strong. And we do take them for granted a little bit. We see lots and lots of warthogs around, but I think they're really cool animals. Those two nose to nose. And they do love a good bum scratch. Oops. Something gave them a little bit of a fright, but looks like order is restored. Back to the mud bath. William asking, are all animals easily spooked at waterholes? I would say yes, I would think more so than they would be elsewhere, just because they know that it's an area where they are potentially at risk. There are various predators that we used to hang around, well, probably still do, hang around at waterholes because it is a good opportunity to catch things. You're not paying so much attention. You've got other things on your mind. You're looking down at the water, having a drink. So you'll find animals will be very vigilant and a bit nervous, particularly if it's windy at waterholes. I remember saying when I was in Katavi National Park, we used to go to an area called Katasunga Plains, where there was a nice sort of river running through it, or at least a water source there. And there was a pride of lions that were often used to see there, and I don't think I ever saw them doing anything other than just lying in the tree line watching, waiting for an injured or an unsuspecting animal, waiting for the time to be just right to launch a potential offensive. You saw the baggy skin on those elephants before. There was a nice Zulu cultural story as to the origin of the warthog's skin. They say when the creator was handing out the skin, the warthog, being a pig, was late because he was busy stuffing its face. And by the time it got there was no skin left. So the creator decided, well, that he had a little bit of elephant skin lying around, like an offcut. So stretched that skin tightly over the warthog, and that is why, apparently, when they are running through the grass, their tail goes up because what they're doing, according to this story, is closing their eyes to stop grass seeds getting into their eyes. And because the skin is so tightly fitted, by closing the eyes, that pulls all the skin forward and causes the tail to stick up in the air. But there are some lovely stories of, particularly with the warthog, actually, quite a few cultural stories as to why the warthog is, dare I say, so ugly, and other stories about that tail as well. Hello, superb starling. Those of you looking for birds, there's a superb starling. Juliet, I'm glad warties are your favourites. Families will stay together for a few years. You'll often see multiple generations, but they will split up. Oh, there's a pied wagtail as well in the foreground. They will split up. Males will generally go on to be solitary individuals. Females, you'll often see females together as a group. Whether or not they are sisters, that I wouldn't know. But as is often the case, males will go off and do their own thing. And I imagine the females don't travel too far from their place of birth. When you do see two or three females with youngsters together, I don't know whether they are related individuals. It would be interesting to find out, but I wouldn't be surprised if they are certainly ones that regularly socialize together. But they don't stay in the families their whole life. Once they've reached sexual maturity, they have to go off and start doing their own thing and procreate. Zooming in on some butterflies, possibly African vagrants, I don't know, or African migrants. I can never remember if they're vagrants or migrants with that sort of greenish tinge. And some yellow ones, so I shall leave it at that. I wonder if you'll see some of the starlings grab so many of these butterflies. Natural spirit, you're commenting on the number of butterflies there, but say plenty of minerals in the soil there from all the dung. Oh, it looked like a red-billed buffalo weaver. And moisture on the surface of the soil, allowing the salts to have permeated through the surface there. That's why you often find a lot of butterflies, but look at all the tiny little things flitting around. Wattled starlings, ring-necked doves. Jan Mello, yes, mud bathing, it must feel good. And, I've done my fair share of mud bathing. I remember Tess and I did it live on a morning safari once, which I was not too keen on at the time, but I have to say it was quite therapeutic actually. It's surprisingly soft and cool. Oh, there comes the elephant to create havoc. Yeah, I wasn't too impressed with finding water scorpions and crabs and things in there whilst I was splashing around. But it does feel nice speaking from experience, and yeah, I'm sure it plays a role in terms of getting rid of ectoparasites and things, certainly. But yes, I'm sure it also just feels good. And hello, Sandy Franklin69. Good morning to you. And I'm sorry you've missed the first, wow, nearly hour and a half of the show, but I'm glad you could join for the last 35, 40 minutes or so. We've had some lovely elephant sightings. We've enjoyed some really interesting hippo activity at Camelthorne. We've popped in at Tau. We've seen the vultures being fed. Lots of fun stuff. No leopards, though, as per yesterday, yet.
I feel it is a rosetted morning for us. So yes, let's see what we can find. What does it take to handle the wild? Balance. Determination. Focus.
Yaku!
And gear that can take a beating so you don't have to.
Marco, you're asking, do elephants mud bath? Yes, they do. But not often you'll see them actually rolling around in the mud. It does happen. I have seen it before, but not really necessary when you've got a hose pipe attached to the front of your face and you can fling mud onto yourself. It's not easy to right yourself when you're weighing 5, 6, 7 tons, maybe. It's a lot of effort to get up and down. So generally, more likely you're going to see them, and this happens all the time, throwing mud on themselves to control parasites and deal with the sun. Also lovely to see the eland again, nice big male who's just wandered out of shot with that huge dewlap hanging below the neck. Of course, eland, a very much revered creature to the Bushmen, ancient people of these parts, or southern African parts. Lots of stories of elands being used in rituals, in cave paintings, and because of that, there are eland up in the stars as well. They say Procyon or Procyon, the eighth brightest star in the sky, and Canis Minor is uh, the eland husband, if you will, and Castor and Pollux from Gemini are his two wives. He's higher in the sky, overlooking them. You can see both of those constellations just after sunset. If you look to the west, Gemini will be just above the horizon after dark. Procyon, Canis Minor just slightly higher, sinking under the horizon probably around about 9 o'clock-ish, I would think, for Canis Minor. A beautiful antelope, eland, very, very, they always look so sort of sleek and smooth, very short-haired. Saying weighing in about the same as a buffalo, so a very sizable antelope. Their tracks look very, very similar to each other as well, both cloven, sort of rounded cloven hooves. What you generally find with the eland, though, is that their toes overlap one another. So the buffaloes, the two hooves all sort of meet at the front, almost creating a perfect semicircular track, whereas you generally get one toe that's sort of slightly more curved than the other in eland, so they overlap each other, a bit like how would you describe it? A pair of pincers that don't fit together perfectly. They one fits over the other and one under the other. A little bit like the horns, actually, you can see from that angle. It still amazes me to think something as big and heavy, look at this beautiful bull on the right here, that he could jump a 3-meter high fence. It's the incredible amount of power in those legs to generate that sort of spring when you're weighing 7, 8, maybe even as much as 900 kilograms for a big eland. Quite a few younger bulls in this group coming down for a drink. Well, it's all happening here at Aldonio. We've got impalas, there's an oryx in the background as well. Sandy Franklin, you're saying you love eland. Well, you've come to the right place. We're glad you joined us when you did. It was nice to have them come down and have a drink. Well, this is something a little bit different there at Aldonio. Let's head back to Wangi. Plenty more elephants. Including one on the left who looks decidedly pregnant, I would suggest. Waiting for one of these elephants to come up to the camera. Yes, come closer. Come and investigate us. Sniff. Let's have a close-up look at your trunk. There's like a couple of bulls in the foreground, possibly sort of not exactly sizing one another up, but a little bit of posturing going on. Lorraine, it's great when they come so close to the camera, isn't it? Yeah, always interesting to get really close-up views of them. I'm surprised that they don't investigate the cameras a little bit more. It must look slightly out of place and smell a bit funny, but I suppose for animals that frequent these particular areas regularly, they become accustomed to it pretty quickly. And I know the lodge is not too far away from here, so they're probably used to a few alien sights and sounds. Always enjoyed those pictures or those videos when people put GoPros down on the floor and the animals walk straight past them or cameras down there. But I've never done it myself. I'm always so worried. I've seen enough footage of things like lions stopping to investigate this thing on the road and then picking it up and carrying it, and you end up with 5 minutes of footage of the inside of a lion's soft palate until it drops you somewhere out in the bush and you may never find your camera again. Not sure whether the insurance companies will cover being eaten by lion or chewed on by lion, but it is always nice to get that close up perspective, and also nice to be at low levels as well. I was saying for photography, it's actually the best seat is the front seat because you're more likely to be at eye level of your subject. That's why those eye level hides are so good. A little one going in for a drink. Wow, sorry, if you're hearing some strange noises, that's not the elephants communicating, that's my stomach apparently communicating with the elephants. I think it knows I skipped breakfast this morning and is rather unhappy about it, so sorry if that came through the mic. And a very sizable group of elephants. Okay, well, looks like these ellies at the hide are beginning to move off. Let's go back up to Old Donyo. I think that elephant's still hanging around and sounds like a giraffe may have also joined. Very beautiful. Martina, you're saying some great sightings of ellies today. Yes, it's been an elephant and a hippo day today, hasn't it? But it's been lovely here at Old Donio. We've started out with quite a few ellies, but we've had lots of other things coming down to drink as well. We've seen lots of other animals. So nice to see such a wide-ranging diversity on this camera between the elephants, the giraffe. We've had impalas, we've had eland, we've had the oryx. Now we just need those rosettes to come strolling in. I like the way this elephant has just managed to miss the last little bit on the back of his thighs with, I assume, splashing some mud around. And that bit was protected. It's got a very sort of two-toned khaki shorts on today. The elephant equivalent of twiddling his thumb there. Julia, you're pointing out giraffe, the most nervous drinkers. They are, unfortunately. They're very, very jumpy. A number of times I've sat with guests out on a safari vehicle and we see a giraffe approaching water and everybody sits there and gets their cameras ready. And then you might have to wait half an hour for it to cover that last 20 meters down to the water. It wants to make absolutely sure that there is no danger lurking in the bushes. And even then, it doesn't take much to distract the giraffe from drinking. But say, thankfully for them, they don't need to do it all that often, and they don't need huge amounts of water, thanks to that incredibly efficient digestive system that they have. I love the way this other one's got his trunk rolled up and curled up over his tusk. And there's our beautiful big tusker, as somebody described him earlier, not 1 ton. Unless that is 1 ton. I'm not 100% sure. I've never seen this elephant. Oh, is that 1 ton? I'm going to have to Google 1 ton quickly. I think that could be him. I'm sure many of you watching will know, but from a quick search, that does look like the pictures of 1 ton, of whom I have been waiting to see for months and months and months. So if somebody is agreeing that it's definitely 1 ton, excellent. I can finally tick him off my list. Hello, boy. And you are very impressive. Massive, beautiful, curving tusk. The tusks. Interesting. I'm assuming that he is considered exceptionally dominant in these parts. It'll be interesting to see how the others act around him. Sandy Flanken, no, you're saying that giraffes don't drink very much. They don't. They don't have to. If you've seen giraffe droppings, you think of the size of a giraffe and then the amount of waste product that comes out. It's a tiny, tiny proportion. They have got super, super efficient digestive systems, so they get an awful lot of their water requirements from the vegetation that they are eating, which is excellent if it's so uncomfortable and potentially dangerous for you to eat, to drink. Another big tusked elephant, 1 tusker, 1 ton and 1 tusk.
For years, we've shared virtual wildlife. Now, let's experience it for real. I'm Lauren Arthur and I'd love to show you my amazing home here in the Greater Kruger of South Africa. This 5-night journey is an exclusive connection to my piece of untamed Africa. I live here in these gorgeous landscapes surrounded by epic wildlife. The wild is calling, so come and join me.
The Wild with Impact Foundation is a non-profit that uses the power of wildlife storytelling as a force for good. We create sustainable development projects that showcase conservation stories, empower people, and inspire environmental action. As a registered South African PBO, you can make a tax-deductible donation to the Wild Earth Impact Foundation. To find out more, visit our website.
My full name is Mpho Tikani. I grew up in Soweto. My first animal that I filmed said to dog. Okay, no, it's my first animal that I filmed, I think it was an impala. Best sighting ever, I would say it was actually this year, 2024. But it was at this Cedric when we had Muluwati and TP on a warthog kill. I think we have to cut it.
Out here, every wild moment counts, and as a Wild Earth explorer, you won't miss a thing.
Incredible.
Watch the Wild Earth channel ad-free 24/7 and rewind if you want to catch something again. Enjoy behind-the-scenes videos, fireside chats, and early access to travel offers. The best way to stay connected and be part of the Wild Earth family.
Oh, nice to see the Iland are back. I also just took the opportunity to do a little bit of reading up on wonton. I'm sure our regular viewers will know far better than I, but it seems that in March earlier, 2024, so last year, he was seen with and also in 2021, he's had a couple of nasty wounds on his neck, which have been monitored, but evidently he's still doing fine. Both the authorities think were puncture wounds from fights with other elephants. But I'm guessing by the look of him, he's quite an old elephant, so probably engages in quite a few tussles with other males for reproductive opportunities. And it is dangerous. Elephants can kill each other with those giant skewers that they have on the front of their faces. They're glad to see he's managed to dodge 2 bullets over the last few years. But he really is a beautiful creature. I thought he'd be slightly bigger across the forehead from his age. Maybe it just looks that way because his tusks are so big that it makes it look slightly smaller. But different genetics, different creatures. But he's still very, very beautiful. Fuzzy Dunlop, you're saying they were together yesterday, so must be good pals. I assume you're referring to the one big tusker that we saw just now as well. So, oh, maybe they're sharing some large tusk knowledge. Who knows? But by the sounds of it, he's been hanging out in this area for many, many years. So I'm sure he's very much a stalwart, known by everybody. Juliet, you're saying maybe are they not out of balance when they lose one tusk like that? I was thinking how heavy those tusks must be. Potentially a few 100 kilograms there. I'm sure to the massive muscles in an elephant's neck, it's not too difficult. But yeah, you would think if you had to carry a 100-kilogram weight, 70-kilogram weight in one hand and not the other, you two would probably also be unbalanced. But I guess they figure it out as they go. It is interesting how the other ones have all seemed to have left him to it on the preferred side for drinking. He's gone straight to that pipe. All the others quite content to let him have that spot. Juliet, tall flat trees in the background, I would imagine are the umbrella thorns, the tortilis species. I'm going to call them acacia tortilis. I know they're no longer acacias, but they always will be for me. So yeah, flat-crowned acacia or umbrella thorn. Very classically African. And a couple of absolutely massive umbrella thorns down where I used to work at Tunda in KwaZulu-Natal many, many years ago. Always nice to stop for a sundowner under one of those. So the quintessential silhouette of a classic African sunset photograph with an elephant and an umbrella thorn. Just need a leopard lying in it and everyone would be happy. There's one on the right. Maybe considering making a play for the pipe. Jive Bunny, you were saying that one ton survived a puncture below his right tusk a year ago. I wonder if that was the same one that I was reading about. I think they said it was March 2024 that incident was. They said neck, but yes, possibly lower neck, if that's what you're referring to. But evidently, well, that was more than a year ago, and he still seems to be going strong and looks in good nick. Oh. He stands very tall and very proud, though, doesn't he?
This unfolds in front of you. Welcome to Safari Spotlight. We'll be
And you pretend like you're a salesman, eh?
Got no idea what's going on in this reserve.
Expecting the unexpected.
Are we stuck down there?
What am I trying to do?
Because we have another giant of Mabula.
That was incredible.
This is unbelievable.
It's going to be a spectacular afternoon.
you look at some of these individuals, like there's our famous 1 ton, you're only going to elicit a certain amount of control as to where that pointy end is going to go. So they do sometimes get, say, stabbed in sort of around the shoulder and the neck region, but generally speaking, they will lock tusks and push, a little bit like antelopes do with their horns on the top of their heads. And I wouldn't be surprised if his other tusk was broken in an altercation with another bull. Oh, there you go. A little bit of personal space invasion there. I wonder if there's some history between those two. You saw 1 ton gave him a big head flap when this other one turned up, whether that was just because he saw something sneaking up behind him or whether he recognized that specific individual. And what we just saw there, a little bit of afters, was anything to do with some personal history. We do like to come up with stories, don't we? Look at the really established groove on this one closest to us on the left, on that tusk. Years and years of levering branches over it. Almost looks as if that groove is more than halfway through the thickness of the ivory. It looks like he's got a black eye as well. Looks like something strange towards the tip of that one's trunk, who's got his trunk in the water. I don't know if that's an injury. I saw up at Punta Maria a few years ago an elephant, and his trunk was only hanging on by probably less than a third of the skin that would otherwise have been wrapped around it. I'm assuming some snare damage, which is pretty horrible. They had obviously had made a plan to still be able to drink water through it. I'm not sure if that was just a mark, a trick of the light, or if he's also got an injury towards the tip of his trunk. Perhaps we can have another look when he extends the trunk again. Yeah, something's definitely not quite right with that one's, the last sort of 10 inches or so of his trunk. I wonder if that is an injury. It's hard to tell from here. Mindy Tillepower saying these guys probably having a whole conversation we know nothing about. I have absolutely no doubt. Swapping stories about tourists that they've seen. Leopard Lover, I hope we will one day investigate, say, that all-purpose animal translator. Imagine how amazing that would be. We come up with all these ideas of how we think is best to protect these animals, or what we think that they want, and we might be completely and utterly wrong. Maybe when the aliens visit us one day, they'll bring us that technology. Wildlife lady, I'm glad you loved today's live at the waterhole. Yeah, not as quite as exciting as the leopard we had yesterday, but I'm very, very happy to have finally seen 1 ton live. That's made my day. We hear so much about him, very much an established character. Nice to tick him off my list. And I thoroughly enjoyed spending time with those hippos, watching a little bit of a scrap ensuing, seeing the youngsters, looking at all those scars on their backs, and say vulture feeding time, always fun as well. And who doesn't love a warthog having a butt scratch as well? So it's been a fun day, lots of activity. Well worth joining us, and thank you for all of you that did. But we are down to the last couple of minutes now, unfortunately, but don't forget to join the teams for the sunrise safari. I am not doing live at the waterhole tomorrow. I'm not sure who is, but I'm sure that they will regale you with some wonderful stories again. Jive Bunny saying it was wonderful to have me hosting the show. It has been great, Jive Bunny. It's nice to do 3 in a row and you sort of get to know what's happening over here. But I'll be back again, I think Sunday, Monday. I'll be doing these shows again. So we'll catch up with you all then. But it is the last 30 seconds. So for all of your wonderful questions and comments, thank you so much for sending them in. The show wouldn't be the same without you, and it certainly gets me thinking as well. But have a fantastic rest of your Wednesday, and do join us later on this afternoon and again tomorrow, 12:30 till 2:30 Central Africa time. But have a great day, everybody. Thanks again.
Welcome to Safari Spotlight. Come with us as we discover some of South Africa's wildest places, the Lowveld, the Eastern Cape and the Waterberg. We'll track and hopefully find some wonderful wildlife while basking in the magnificence of these landscapes. Our locations are diverse and unique. If you like what you see on Safari Spotlight, you can visit these wild and special places